Hello, welcome to xoquetails, where every episode we're going to have a really fun conversation with a member of the Keyforge community. I am Zach, and I'm joined today by Zach Armstrong. Welcome.
Hey there, Zach. Happy to be here. And I just realized when your handle is properly pronounced how similar our names are. Zach and Zach.
Ooh,
Yeah.
what a connection.
Yeah. It feels like, once Keyforge goes really big over the next few years and they're casting a Keyforge sitcom, we could, you know, toss that out as the main characters, Zach and Zach.
Zoc and Zach with our bizarro, sweaty Zoc and sweaty Zach.
Right. Yeah. We're just like the two normal dudes, but our lives are ruined by the sweaty versions of
Oh,
ourselves that
yes.
show up every episode and cause havoc.
Oh, well, I'm gonna Chat GPT is gonna start working on the script for this right after this.
Oh goodness. Yeah. I'm not sure how accurate that would be. It hardly knows Keyforge, but
Yeah, true. So, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking a concoction of my own creation with the only alcohol I had left over at the time of preparation. I'm calling it the Lazy Millennial because it's LaCroix and then uh, some. It's a LaCroix and tequila.
Awesome. Yummy.
It's
Well,
in a mason jar. So the Lazy Millennial is what that is.
excellent. And I'm the lazy Gen Xer, which is actually went for Pepsi and whiskey tonight. So,
Ah, very nice.
cheers, sir.
Cheers. Oh,
Or Skull, I think, is what we decided the Keyforge Cheers was
oh
last
okay.
episode.
Skull. Skull. So if my assault damage kills a creature, I can give somebody a +1
There you
counter.
go. So I want to jump right in because you just recently announced Keyforge Public Radio, and
Yeah.
I am like so super excited about this. I want to jump right to it
Yeah.
because we've been missing you from the Keyforge content community for a while. So tell us all about it. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Keyforge Public Radio was born out of a number of things all converging. So as I said in a few places, like Call of Discovery sunsetting was about Call of Discovery, which Ed and I had talked about, and we decided that together. And after that was put to bed, still active on Discords and Reddit and stuff, but wasn't making anything. And a few things happened. One, my excitement for the game grew, and the more I saw from Ghost Galaxy, with the ups and downs, but I mean, if I had to count them, I think it's mostly ups.
Definitely.
And as far as where I think the trajectory of the game is going, and where I think they're planning on taking it as big as possible. It's their only game, and the one thing about a company that whether you're an investor looking to basically bet on it by investing, or um, you just want to know how good the company is. You look at the people. What's their experience? How good are they at their jobs? How do they work? What are their processes? Does their product have a good market? All this sort of thing. Keyforge already proved itself economically once. I do realize doing it a second time is going to be tough. But as far as the people go, Christian T. Peterson is one of the best single names in the business as far as planning, innovating, figuring things out. He brought Michael Hurley with him, who is also one of the most experienced people in the industry. I've met Jeremy. Jeremy is fantastic at getting all of the marketing coordinating done. Of course, they hired Luke, who has been doing game development for fun and publishing things to try that out. And then they hired him. So I have huge confidence in the team. And the more plans I saw from them, the more I said, they're going big. And if there's any time to just go for it with another podcast, it's now. The other thing that converged is um, my wife and I were doing some reflecting earlier in the year. It was around the time Call of Discovery was sunsetting, and since last September, I had been producing, being the audio producer, not like a full what's your creative direction producer, but audio producer for a friend's podcast that was a part of her entrepreneurship coaching business. And I had been doing that for a while and thought to myself, podcasts are in a good place as a medium. Like they're still growing. They're not so saturated yet. No, like people haven't really figured out what does a podcast market look like. How exactly do all the big advertisers advertise on podcasts? How exactly do you use a podcast and who is appropriate to use a podcast? Like there's a lot of smart people who know a lot of that stuff. But that's not really standardized yet. And I fell in love with podcasting. I have a cat on my lap now. Everybody's gonna say hi, Lucas.
Aw,
This is
look,
Lucas.
Lucas.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, with my experience with Call of Discovery, one thing Ed and I had talked about a while back, he said, Zach, for me, this has been my hobby podcast. You treat this like a business. Little did I know how prophetic that was because as I was thinking about it and we sunsetted Call of Discovery, I said, I love audio as a medium. I took some audio training in college. I did audio design, sound design for an absurdist show for Eugene Ionesco's Rhinoceros, if anybody knows their
Hmm.
theater history. And I had such a good time with it and had a short podcast with my wife before Call of Discovery. And then during Call of Discovery and helping out this friend, I said, I'm a marketing professional, which is a perfect set of skills to go in with my podcasting skills. I'm a theater kid, so I love making things look good and being strategic, and I could be good on a mic myself. Why don't I go for it? So today, this is a serendipitous timing. I was mentioning to Zach beforehand. Today was the last day of my day job, and here on forward, I am a podcast producer with my company, Rooster High Productions. And this all matters coming back to Keyforge Public Radio because when I talked about, okay, this could be something big, the Keyforge Public Radio isn't just, this is part of it, but it isn't just, I love Keyforge so much, I have to make some content and put it out there. Like, so I have the website keyforgepublicradio.com and like that's a full like podcast website with everything on it. I have streamlined my social media processes and I have a social media, like tool online where I can post across all the mediums at once and, watch what the numbers are doing and what posts do well, that sort of thing. And so, like, I have the entire system set up. I have content planned. We're going to focus on strategy with news as needed. With Keyforge Public Radio, I'm kind of stealing but the tagline. I evolved this recently. It's going to get updated across all the items. It's going to be Keyforge Strategy Podcast, helping create the informed Keyforge player. Right. So that's
Nice.
going to be mostly strategy, but interviews with designers. Hopefully, can get those again, like we had on Call of Discovery.
Yeah,
And so, if something's not directly strategy, it will be helping you as a Keyforge player understand the game better. Whether it's directly strategy, it's philosophy behind the game, it's news that is important to playing the game. We'll talk about OP. To some degree, at the very least, at least talk about it, if not do deep dives. And I am strategically fully within trying not to, you know, give up any trust with the community, but I'm going to try to monetize the podcast. We've got so I'm not going to run ads on the podcast itself, at least not the plug-in ads. If I get sponsors, I might do host read ads
sure.
for people who are actually connected to our audience, right? Like Gamegenic or Katana sleeves, stuff like that. Luxury play style. I haven't used
Yeah,
their stuff, but they are no. I haven't used their stuff. It's not really my style, but I mean, which I'll just admit that's been elsewhere. But oh my gosh, have they supported Keyforge like crazy? Like they're
definitely.
one of
Totally.
the OG proactive supporters,
Yeah.
right? Like absolutely undeniable amount of support. So across that, the Patreon and like a couple other things. There's a KPR merch store already, which I haven't quite linked on the website.
So
So
cool.
so I'm going to try to monetize it, and if Keyforge goes big, and I have the privilege of following that with KPR, then it could actually become profitable. But my worst case situation is, or my worst case scenario with KPR is that it's not profitable, but it is the perfect practice for everything I want to continue to do for clients, which I've already done, but I've got this skin in the game use case where I'm spending my own money on it. I care.
Definitely. We
I'm
can be
going
your
for
guinea
it.
pigs.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's the perfect situation because if like a say an expert in a particular field comes to me and says, I want a podcast because I feel like that's going to be the best way to get in touch with my people, that expert, depending on who they are and what their topic is, they're not necessarily going to try to be the biggest podcast ever, everything for everybody. They might already have an audience who knows who they are, Dr. So and so in, employment law or something like that.
Sure.
And so I'm not that I'm well, I guess I'm as much as an expert as anybody can be, and there's plenty of people at that level of knowledge like me. But I'm in that situation with Keyforge where like I know the game, I've talked about the game, people know who I am, and I have that relationship with the community because I am in the community to manage and to speak to and to give value to. So yeah, it's my real thing, my skin in the game, and even even if I don't make money off of it, it's still a success. So
Well, that is super
that's
exciting
the
and
story.
definitely wishing you tons of luck, not
Yeah,
only with, of course, Keyforge Public Radio, but your business, which will
yeah.
also make sure Keyforge Public Radio stays around.
Right, exactly, exactly. That's the intent.
And I
That's the
do want to give
intent.
a shout out to the chat. Hey Murph, hey JT, hey Astron. Feel free to ask questions. I did want
Oh,
to.
yeah.
I wanted to read one of Murph's comments. This sounds like a hostile takeover of the Keyforge media space by Mean Corporation.
That that is fair. I'm trying to pop out chat here so I can
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can chat with our lovely people. Yeah, I mean, not a takeover because like I don't want to. I'm not gonna like. How could I even like kick anybody else out? Um, but like I just want to provide enough value to the Keyforge community doing focused strategy primarily because everybody still talks about BDQ.
Oh yeah.
Everybody still talks about BDQ. Some of the stuff, hasn't aged through the sets. The two guys were strategy nerds, primarily, not necessarily hosts, so they had their town on the mic, right? So I want to take the best of them, the best of also Sanctimonious. Kind of had that. I don't think they said it this way, but they had that informed Keyforge player vibe where they talked about the things that were really valuable to the community. They had the gentleman who was across from the cheating scandal on to talk about it after that happened in the Las Vegas Prime, I think the triad there. They had all sorts of timely topics that really mattered to the community. So
Well, I think that
that's
sounds
the
really great,
idea.
and I think it's definitely a huge opportunity and kind of a missing space for especially strategy and yeah,
Mhm.
informing people about what they need to know. So I think that's great.
And that's exactly what I saw, and I said, I can do it. I'm also doing it from a place of like, so I've gotten good at Keyforge. I got good at Keyforge over the pandemic. I was not great at Keyforge before the pandemic, um, and so I feel like I can speak to strategy, but it won't be from a high horse place. I won't be speaking from some untouchable ivory tower.
Yeah.
I believe one of my intros is like I'll be your guide through Keyforge strategy, and I've learned through a lot of like bad losses and good practice. Like, I'm a very normal brain who's just been obsessed with Keyforge.
I can help you two be sweaty.
Exactly, exactly.
So you had mentioned as part of the background, all your work with Call Discovery, and of course, it was beloved by the community. Amazing podcast. Um, you and Ed accomplished a ton over 115 episodes. I love the quizzes. I love NARP, all
Yep,
the deck discovery episodes,
yep. Narp will be back.
insight, and lots of great interviews. Of course, even Richard Garfield, but also Christian T. Peterson, and one of my favorites, Balance Sheet. It was amazing.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, Steve Hamilton, once he became art director for FFG. That was a fantastic one, getting an insight to the process,
Yeah,
and into Balance Sheet's talents too, who got the reputation for being the artist who could solve the tough challenge,
totally.
and then of course hired on as the art director, which is just absolutely yeah. That was a cool one. That was a very cool one.
Yeah, go check that out. His the way that he describes how they gave him what to work with for the art for Portal is just one of my favorite like Keyforge stories, and yeah, really, really well done.
Hmm.
But now that it's been a while since you've kind of stopped with Call of Discovery, kind of how do you feel about what you achieved with it?
I feel great about what Ed and I achieved. I I mean, that started because Ed just wanted to talk about Keyforge. He just couldn't hold it in, and he obviously like I didn't change a thing as far as like the audio identity, right? Like what you hear when you think Call of Discovery. All I changed was adding my voice in. Like he set that up so perfectly, and so I didn't have to change a dang thing. And I'm so proud of what we did. Like when I pitched, I said, "Hey, let's just email Richard Garfield." And gosh, that ended up being episode what 66, I think, or 67. Like that was just over halfway through. So we still did so much after that even.
Yeah.
Um, and shout out to one of the follow-up episodes right after that, The Cost of a Card in Keyforge with Karen Brown. By far the most downloaded non-Keyforge designer episode out of our entire
Oh, that's
library.
cool.
By far, and actually more downloaded than half of our designer episodes. So that's a great one. That might get a replay on KPR later. But
And
I'm so proud of it.
well, I think that shows how people are hungering for more information about how to think about the game and especially strategically. What is the value of these cards and like when do I
Yep.
discard it? Or
The
yeah,
cost of a card in Keyforge is an opportunity cost.
yeah,
Is and that is by its own nature abstract, and sometimes it's a simple opportunity cost, and sometimes it's so complicated, like you can't hold it all in your brain at once, and you just really have to discern and go.
definitely. In the chat, Murph says he's unbelievably hyped for Keyforge Public Radio. I am as
The check must
well.
have cleared. Thank you, Murph. uh,
Astron's got a question here. Do you
yeah.
feel the content creation area of Keyforge is becoming oversaturated? Is all the media coverage a good thing for Keyforge? I
Hmm.
feel lost as a Keyforge content creator. I felt like I was filling a gap when I started, but
So,
now it's
Astron,
not the same.
I'm going to answer a question with a question. First, could you please tell us what the name of your content is? Because I don't know it by the name Astron, and I search for Keyforge on most platforms all the time. So please let me know what it is, because if I'm not already consuming it, I want to.
It's on
Um,
Twitch. And this used to be Anxious Pirate, so it was twitch.tv slash
oh, I
Anxious
see.
Pirate, and now it's
Okay,
twitch.tv slash Astron624, I believe.
perfect.
Yeah.
So, do I feel the content creation area of Keyforge is becoming oversaturated? Simply no, no. I think there is room for there's room if you be yourself and you commit to doing it just a little bit better every time, watching a YouTube video, asking me or Zach, hey, I want to improve this, what are your recommendations, just googling it. um, if you commit to like being yourself and then refining it every time and just finding what you really enjoy talking about Keyforge and what you feel you can speak to, and you don't have to be an absolute expert, you just have to be, you know you just have to want to do it, then there's plenty of space for that, especially right now. Because here's the thing, Astron. If you as you keep creating, if you keep just finding a pace that works for you, keep it sustainable. Find a pace that works for you, keep it sustainable. If Keyforge, like I want it to, like we all want it to, does go big, if you're consistent now, you're going to be. This is still the OG era of Keyforge content. If Keyforge does go big and a ton more people come in, if Winds of Exchange is as huge as we think it is, gosh, once we get through the holidays this year in early 2024, like you won't be able to take a breath in without accidentally, catching a whiff of a Keyforge podcast or stream. So, um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think also people like different personalities depending on their personality as well. And so
that's
even
right.
though everybody loves the charm of Zach, not everybody loves me. Some people might prefer you, Astron, to me just because of your style. And so
Sure.
there's something for everyone out there. Yeah, that's what I think. I see we got one of your locals in the chat, Lord of Winter. What's up? Nice to see you. I played you at KFC. That was a
Yeah, a
fun
Lord of
match.
Winter, a local in spirit, a local in
Oh,
spirit. But yes, local to my heart always. Lord of Winter, one of my oldest Keyforge friends.
awesome.
Hmm. Oh, that's right. You are. So Astron's saying very difficult being Australian in the Keyforge world. Time zone unfavorable. Yeah, I can see how that's difficult. I can see how that's difficult. I could also recommend. My gosh, Keyforge blogging. is great if you write it all or want to just practice it with Keyforge. Doing a Keyforge blog you can easily do for free, and you can also refine the thing over a couple drafts until you feel good about it. It's not like Stream where you're just constantly pumping your unmodified face and presentation out there.
It's a good point. We have, I think,
Yeah,
only a very kind of limited penetration into the blog market.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a Keyforge Public Radio blog, and I'm halfway through a When Is This Card Good blog on Heavy Subsidies, the rare Sanctum artifact from Winds of
Ooh,
Exchange, which is a completely game warping artifact. And so some people were talking about it on a Discord I'm on, and I said, I'm gonna go ahead and write this because I'm really into this right now.
that's gonna be fun. Oh,
Yeah.
I am so excited for Winds of Exchange. So, what about you? Have you got your decks yet? I know everybody's waiting for their Game Found pledges. I haven't got mine yet. Very excited
Mm,
though. Everything about, I mean, I was at KFC, so I got to play it a little bit, and it's so
that's
exciting.
right. We got to
Uh,
hang out, which was a treat.
yeah, the set is super fun. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I So you haven't gotten your shipping email yet?
I have not. Nope.
So there's a pledge, technically pledged by my wife, which I won through the Archon's Corner tournament where you played using the hosts decks, and it was a SAS climb where every round the SAS went up. If Floximal shows up in the chat, I'll have to remind him that we played each other maybe 5, 6, 7 times, and I came up from the losers bracket to beat him, and I won a display with a custom name that their only requirement was it had to be something about winning that tournament. So that's arriving tomorrow. That's
Awesome.
arriving tomorrow. Yep. And then I just got my notification for my was it Turner of Keys, Breaker of Change? It was the second, the
Hmm.
first tier down, not the top one, but the one right down. I
Breaker,
just got
yeah.
my notification for that. And as far as how excited I am, this I think this is going to be the best and most fun Keyforge set. And I think the feel of how it feels to play, both in especially sealed, because I've had quite a bit there, and I also think the in Archon, as far as you just find a deck that you like what it does, I think both feel great for this set. I think it's really well balanced against itself. I can't wait to really see it at scale against other sets. In my very limited testing, really in locals and against TTR, went 4-1 in the TTR gauntlet. Now, to
Yeah,
be
it's
fair,
impressive.
they didn't pick their strongest DT deck, but it was this deck right. Yeah, I'm actually sorting it right now, but Nick Waite, Sanchez, Dow, Walker, and of course Brobnar, Equidon, Unfathomable went 4-1 on TTR. So I think the data so far is trending towards it's going to be a very strong set. I do think there's going to be a handful of silver bullets that are scattered throughout the other sets that will hopefully uh, keep it from becoming so dominant that it's boring. But that wouldn't be the worst mistake or the worst error because it's the newest set, and I'd rather people be excited about that one. I'm
I
going to be
agree.
leaning towards Wind of Exchange content with KPR, especially with an eye towards people who are going to be coming back, who either lost interest just of their own accord or just didn't have a local scene and so weren't engaged, which is like totally fair. Um, so I'm going to be focusing on Winds of Exchange content. Now, Patreon subscribers will vote on what content comes up. So if we revisit old things, it'll be because people are saying, actually, we do need to go back and talk about this kind of deck from Dark Tidings that happens to have amazing matchups, right,
Definitely.
against Woe. But I'm so excited for Woe. Amazing sealed, amazing Archon. I love the token mechanic. It's just so graceful, along with a lot of the other things they're trying in this set. So it's cool.
Awesome. Yeah, Lord of Winter in the chat says some of this WoW stuff is busted like Prospector. And that was exactly the type of deck that he
Yeah.
busted me up with at KFC, a Prospector deck where he could get a whole bunch of tokens out, kill them all
Right.
with mass buyout, get Ember for that, and draw more cards and do it all over again. It was pretty cool to see. Very impressive.
Well, Skull to Prospector.
Skull.
Yeah. Yep. Especially Alliance with Winds of Exchange. If I end up playing Alliance at a Vault Tour, it will be Winds of Exchange. I did have an Alliance brew I was testing pretty heavily. We can talk about later if you have any alliance questions. But
We can definitely get
yeah,
into that. That sounds fun.
Wi- Winds of Exchange I think is the perfect relaunch set. The
Yeah.
perfect relaunch set. Yeah.
Okay, Murph has a question here. How do you approach topics content that maybe are already covered or overlap to ensure you're adding something new to the conversation?
That's really good. Well, I think first off, I think adding your own voice is already going to do most of the heavy lifting. If you're really just trying to speak like yourself, if you're not trying to, you know, you're not watching Zoc VODs to be like, okay, how can I be like Zoc? It's always good to look to people and say,
Nobody's doing that.
how do you think I got to where I am, man?
Right.
Um, you know, figuring out how to be yourself. I mean, that's also a process, of course. And then, um, honestly, that's 70% of it. And I don't think, I honestly don't really think that you can overlap in a way that's detrimental right now. I think if we get to this insano world that I'm imagining where Keyforge is like so popular and like KPR is fully a part-time job for me and podcasts are just popping up all over the place. If we get there, then you might have to be more strategic if your goal is to stand out and not just get your love for Keyforge out onto the internet. Right. But I think right now, just ask what's going to help the community because then that's also going to help people engage with your content. Like what's valuable to people, what's not out there, or what do people want to see? And even if somebody else is doing it, what's my spin on it? You know, what's my spin on it? And sometimes your spin on it is just being you, and sometimes it's some some fun format that you think up. So, like
Uh,
I said on Help from Future Self, I'll be using when is this card good in KPR a lot, but please make when is this card good segments because there's so many Keyforge cards I can't cover them all. So other people, please, like Astron, please make some start with a when is this card good segment. Just pick your favorite rare or Infernus again and write it up.
I like it, and I really like the just be yourself. I'm actually a longtime fan of Survivor, the reality TV
Mm,
show,
yeah,
and kind of what they say to get on that show is just be yourself. They just want to see people being themselves and real personalities. So I think it's the same for people watching content. They just want to see
yeah,
you be yourself, and everybody brings something different to the table.
yeah, yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
Dinobot, nice to see you. See, we have lots of content
So
provider
many.
creators already in the chat. Go watch twitch.tv/Astron624, twitch.tv
Hmm.
slash Dinobot333, and he's also on YouTube. And
Dinobot
also,
has some of the most creative YouTube cuts and edits
he is a
out there.
master
It's
at
so fun.
edits.
It's
Yeah.
so fun.
And
Yeah,
then, of course, we have Fudgenator as well, who does a whole bunch, not only from a community perspective, but also
that's
running
right.
the CAGI tournament and other fun
Keyforge as
stuff.
Garfield intended.
Yes.
Love it. So check out Kagi. Signups are up for Kagi. I want to say 8,
Yep,
right? Sign us up for that. And also go to speaking of content, go listen. So type in I think it's is it Sloppy Labwork bottom of the beaker
it
is
is.
the Keyforge. So that's Quickdraw and JT Russell. They just had Fudgenator, aka Murph, on their latest episode, talking about Kagi and some other things. I just wrapped up that episode earlier today. Fantastic, and that whole podcast is great. It's ripped from their streams, and the most unfortunate thing about starting KPR is that I named the dang thing Keyforge Public Radio. I bought the domain name. I put the first episode's already scheduled. Like that's written, recorded, scheduled, done. Intro music, everything. I'm like, awesome. And then I see randomly in a Discord that Sloppy Labwork is 30 episodes into publishing their audio as a podcast. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. I love these people from the community. I've got to go listen. And woe is me, pun intended, when I turn that on and I, who just set up Keyforge Public Radio, hear the most radio voice I have ever heard. I am a regular listener of my local NPR affiliate station, and none of them have a voice like JT Russell on Sloppy Labwork. This is, if anything kills KPR, it's not even going to be the game failing. It's going to be the fact that people listen to JT Russell, then they come to Keyforge Public Radio and go, but why isn't the radio guy here? Why is this dude just running his mouth? So
I love it.
yeah,
JT, you
yeah.
apparently you could be doing a lot more. Go use that voice.
Okay, yeah, unironically, completely serious, JT Russell, you have an amazing voice. If you are in any space in your life to like capitalize on that or explore training and capitalize on that, just like ping me because I would love to point you in the right direction because your voice you're like it's something you're born with. It's bonkers, man. It's bonkers. Anyways, okay, I'm
Businesses
done.
are being born right here on this stream right now. Okay.
I've got it on the brain with this whole launching my own business thing. Rooster High Productions, by the way.
Rooster Hive Productions. Okay.
Yeah,
Speaking of JT Russell, he relayed a story to me about how he played you in a vault tour.
that's
And turn one, you dropped down a dust switch, and he couldn't remove it. Next turn, you dropped three Professor Sutterkins,
that's right.
and he was just his jaw was on the floor.
Yes, I believe. I think now JT Russell can correct us if I'm wrong. I think JT Russell dropped after that match or the next one, and I saw the soul leave his body, and I only made the connection between, you know, I only made the connection between that poor person who I did that to and JT Russell, who I've seen in the community for years now. I only made that connection a few weeks ago. So that was the U.S. Grand Championships in Arlington, Virginia, in 2019. And as soon as I saw that story on Discord, I ran to my old blog, which I've reposted over to the KPR website, and I went to my U.S. Grand Championships tournament report because it was sealed triad Age of Ascension, one of the worst ideas for a
Yeah.
format known to thinking, breathing, feeling beings. And I had a really bad deck, and this really bad deck had one trick. It had one Dusk Witch that it could drop turn one if I drew it, hopefully player one, turn one. And then it had three Setterkins. And if it did that, it might win. And it did that three times out of the 6 rounds that I had in Triad. And
Wow.
one of them was the final game against JT Russell in our Triad match. And the game before, he had brigged me at a really terrible place for me and got to check for his third key. And I happened to be able to just keep pinging him with Amber Control, killing his board. And it was just the right mix of like advance myself, kill his board, advance myself, kill his board, and just barely keeping him off check. And it was like a 40-minute match. And I came back. And so it was two feels bad games back to back for JT Russell, but they were good games, and he was a lovely opponent. I would have looked twice as sad in that chair. So
Wow, very very impressive. I
yeah,
mean, you got to get the most out of your cards, even if it's only got one trick. You got to figure out how to use that trick, right? And you
that's right.
mentioned before that you weren't a good Keyforge player, and you became it
Mm,
during the pandemic. And you've talked a lot
yeah.
about Sweaty Zach, and Sweaty
Yes.
Zach has been an impressive force, in the last, you know, 9 months or so. Winning the tournament, top cutting a Keyforge celebration.
Yeah.
S-
Hmm.
Like, have you put? My perception is you put in a lot of time to try and like really improve. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
That's accurate. That's accurate. The biggest the biggest single reason behind that, as far as the biggest concrete kind of single thing, was and longtime listeners of Call of Discovery will remember this episode where Ed and I both opened Worlds Collide decks live on the mics. Wrinkled them in front of the mics and everything. And we both committed. Ed did not follow through, which is totally fine because it turned out to be unreasonable. uh, we committed to 150 games with the sealed decks to put them through my the first version of my NARP process,
Yeah.
which was CD-ROM. And NARP now stands for notes, which means take notes as you play a game with that deck. Take notes. What happened? Notes, antagonists, which is both what types of decks kind of overall, rush, heavy board control, all this sort of thing. What are your antagonists that give you trouble? And then also, what are the specific kinds of cards that give you trouble, right? So, notes, antagonists, recall, which is recalling your entire deck. While you're playing this deck competitively, you should be able to list all 36 cards so that as you count your discard pile, as you check where your cards are, without spending too much energy, you know exactly what's in your deck. And that's to cut down on the energy you're spending trying to think about all these things so that you can spend more energy winning instead of just recalling something you could have memorized. And then play, which is just play your deck, play it a bunch, at least 50 times. And so the first version of that was longer, CD-ROM, and I said play your deck 150 times, and I committed to that. And thank you, TCO. I eventually got through it. I opened a deck called Keepers the Strong Chinned. The first probably 60 or 70 games were just in the competitive straight up 1v1 queue. Lost at least half of those, if not more, because Keepers is a quirky little deck without very strong outs and very weird amber control. It's very conditional. And then the back half of it, all I did was just sign up for adaptive best of one matches. And that's where I really learned keepers because I knew I got to learn exactly how to take that deck apart. And something that playing a bad deck that many times, because there were still plenty of times I still went in the competitive queue or kept playing it myself. Um, it forced me to learn how to play to my outs. There's a lovely, still relevant Lady Aurora article on this, and it's a card game concept, but Aurora puts it very well for Keyforge specifically. I had to play to my outs to win. There's two times burned in my memory where somebody said GG in the chat in competitive queue because they were like, obviously he's done. But I had a remote access in hand. They had a golden spiral out and I said, game's not over. And I called Logos, reaped with a couple things, golden spiraled something else, got more cars, barely got him off of check, got up to check. And the person just concedes and leaves after I like after I get up to like 12 amber or something and they have no scaling control. Right. That was exhilarating. Absolutely exhilarating.
I bet.
Another time I pulled off so Strange Gizmo, which is after you forge a key, destroy all creatures and artifacts. I had Strange Gizmo. I had Titan Mechanic, which is destroy, draw two cards. I had Eddie, 4x4, play, archive a card. And I had Jar Goggle, which is destroyed if it's your turn, play the card underneath Jar Goggle. And underneath Jar Goggle was Nature's Call. And I pulled this off once. Previous turn, Jar Goggle, Nature's Call under it. Titan Guardian, Eddie 4x4. They don't keep me off check. They don't kill any of my creatures. I forge a key in my forge a key step. So I now have two destroyed triggers to pick their order. So I pick Titan Guardian. I draw two cards. I pick Jar Goggle. I play Nature's Call. I return three cards to hand. I pick Jar Goggle, Titan Guardian, and Eddie 4x4. Everything else dies. I call Logos. I play those exact three same cards out again, getting a board back and more speed and taunt and Eddie.
That is
And
amazing.
it it taught me how to play to my outs because that was my only option. Like I was in a corner most of the time, and I was taking you're losing seriously, you know,
Yeah,
take your
yeah,
losing seriously. So that taught me how to pay attention to matchups. That taught me how to pay attention to the phrase I've landed on is gas in the tank, right? Like if you burn all your resources, whether you have to or not, and then your opponent glides across the finish line because you didn't have the answer, right? Paying attention to gas in the tank. Um, After that, I learned a lot about discard pile tech, right? Especially against Infernus, especially against, any number of things. It comes up more often than you think. So if you take your losing seriously, you take notes and you talk with some smart people, and there's plenty of communities that are just you can get into in Discord, especially
definitely.
to talk with smart people, then there's a process that will make you better no matter what. It's really not. I mean, yeah, there's some natural talent, but anybody can get better. Anybody can get better.
Well, that's cool, and I definitely respect the NARP process. Dinobot even started it on his stream for one of his decks, and like you said, just helps the player deck and
Yeah,
learn it in and out, learn your outs. That's very cool. One thing I always wondered though is like Sweaty Zach has become a thing. Are we gonna see like a Sweaty Keyforge brand in the future?
it I think I have to. What I want to do with Keyforge Public Radio is it needs to get off the ground first, and I'll mention Sweaty Zach to make sure that's a part of things. And then once we're a couple episodes in, I'll see if there's a Sweaty Zach segment, or I do have a print on demand shop where I put designs up, so I can either design myself or find an artist friend in the Keyforge community, and we can get some Sweaty Zach merch. And that's easy because it doesn't say Keyforge on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because, I can be Keyforge Public Radio, but all my merch says KPR.
yeah. Right, right.
Right. But Sweaty Zach. Now, Sweaty Zach is the perfect thing to sell as a creator that way. It'll also be, hope people would wear it to embody uh, taking competition seriously in a way that it is fun, and I I like to do it as a thing that like builds character, right? Like you take your losses well. Like you play to win, you might not win. You take your losses well. You take your wins well, and you always remember that the most important part of the game is the person across the table, which 99% of the time means hey, respect them enough to play well and pay attention and respect them as you play. 1% of the time, it means there's something more important than the game going on. Uh, you know, if there's something with the humans who are playing a game going
Yeah,
on that you need to help out with. But that
that's
that
cool.
that would be fun.
I
That would
love
be
it.
fun. Yeah,
Good. I'm gonna ask you some wild off the ball questions now.
let's do it.
If you could have a drink with a random Keyforge creature, what would it be and why?
If I could have a drink with any Keyforge creature, oh man, let's say I'm really feeling like a Winds of Exchange Brobnar creature would
Ooh.
probably be my call. And I'm trying to think. Oh, here we go. Rowdy Scald.
Oh,
Rowdy
perfect.
Scald. Because I love Coda Brobnar and I really love Winds of Exchange Brobnar. And Rowdy Scald gives some great enhancements and is just this raucous, fun-looking old person having a party. I'm not much of a partier myself, but I think I could very much enjoy having a drink with Rowdy Scald. Uh, I feel like Brobnar really tends towards beer, and I love Belgian like farmhouse ales.
Yeah.
So I think knocking back a Belgian farmhouse ale with Rowdy Scald would be
Skull. Skull.
skull.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Um, Another crazy question. Where's the weirdest place you've ever played Keyforge?
Oh, that is a good question. I the first place that comes to mind, the first place that comes to mind. So it was on my friend's porch, which isn't weird in and of itself, but it was more the situation. We had just gotten mass mutations, and this is K March. If you play ABR, he's an ABR
Yeah,
regular. He
nice.
did coat for a while. Tied for winningest rookie his first season. Very good player. He's a local of mine. Great friend. Lovely, lovely person. He was at KF or Keyforge Celebration as well. And it wasn't so much just the fact that we were playing on his porch. It was the fact that we had just gotten our mass mutation displays, and it was the first maybe 6 9 months of COVID. And so we were on his porch, both masked up, sitting on opposite sides of his porch, and the table was in the middle. We were both probably each of us 8 feet on each side away from the table. And so one of us would walk up, kind of squat down, and take our turn and have to manipulate all the cards. And thank goodness for the active player makes all choices rule, because you can just manipulate the whole board state yourself. And then there you go. Okay, sweet. And then you'd go back all the way over. And then the other person would walk up and take their turn. And so that is probably the
That's
weirdest place I played
dedication.
Keyforge
I love
because
it.
of how we did it. Yeah, how we did it.
That's a
That's
good
how
one.
much we needed to play Keyforge and just get out. We were like, okay, let's. I think that was still in the like we were showering, full body every time we came back from the grocery store, right? The
Yeah.
early days. So we were playing very carefully at that point, and it made for a pretty entertaining scene looking back on it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good. I wanted to get into something a little bit more serious. The future of Keyforge. So obviously we
Yep.
talked a little
I'm
bit
betting on
already
it.
about Ghost Galaxy, and I think they've been doing a lot of good things and a few missteps, but definitely more good things than
It
bad. And
is to be expected. They're human.
yeah,
Yeah.
but what are your hopes for the future of Keyforge?
My hopes for the future of Keyforge are I think it is a really great game it's a really easy game to build community around because most people who are really getting really into board games and have board game nights and have closets full of them, like I do. I have my full board game closet over here. Now, since Keyforge for the past 5 years, I've done that a bit less. But I'm one of those people, full closet of board games. And board gamers are even a better target for Keyforge than card game players of other games. Now, those are
Yeah,
great people to convince too, but board gamers like that as well. And I think the brightest spot in the future of Keyforge is the health of the game itself and good new sets coming out and effective like organized play on that local level, effective organized play incentives like these kits they keep talking about and I'm excited for and hopefully they are kits that really get people excited to come out because there's this old saying at this point, the medium is the message, right? Where the thing you're communicating the most is via the medium of the delivery or the actions involved, right?
mm,
Like if I tell my amazing wife, "I love you," but then I don't cook any dinners, I don't clean anything, I don't remember her birthday. Like the medium is the message there, and the
yeah,
message
yeah,
is
yeah.
not "I love you," right? And so I think with Keyforge, with unique decks, there's a bit less of that intense pressure in some other TCGs where you're like grasping for that next thing. And that's why Commander is so popular. And think about it, Commander, if you're unfamiliar with the format, is a multiplayer format in Magic the Gathering. So you've already got more friends than just your two. And your format is a 100 card deck where you have no duplicates and you pick one card to be your commander and then the 99 are all they all have to be unique cards. Like you're already halfway to Keyforge at that point, right? You're already halfway to Keyforge. So people play for the community, they play for the fun, they play for the jank, and Commander creates those situations where there's so many variables going on that the puzzle is just huge and complicated at points. Now there's certain archetypes, right, that might simplify that, and you're just trying to not make your friend win. But people love that, and I think
Yeah,
Keyforge
it's
has so
fun.
much of yeah, and Keyforge has that baked in, and there's that hope of a seal deck. There's that uniqueness of, I mean, even an Archon deck, even if it's not great, the uniqueness that it's yours and that it's only yours, and you can be so good at that deck, and nobody else knows that deck. And I have so many examples, especially over the TCO during the pandemic years, of people just busting through a tournament with a deck they hadn't really talked about yet, but it's completely unique and they had already mastered it. Then they came and smashed the walls down. So I think the communities around Keyforge are going to be so inviting that that will be what generates the health of the game. And my biggest ask of especially anybody dedicated enough to be, listening to content right now, because the game is really only now restarting and just barely, is like preserve that healthy, wholesome, welcoming, like Keyforge vibe, right? It's like, you want to hand somebody a sealed deck, and we've got plenty of people at our people of different genders, people of different political persuasions, all this sort of thing. But we all come together over Keyforge, and we all respect each other. We all treat each other with that respect, with that dignity, and we all love talking Keyforge. And like any kinds of differences, just just melt away when we have that respect and that shared love. And so I think if the community make sure that is the most influential force, especially if cash tournaments bring in more intense combative people who don't value that.
Sure.
Make sure that is the driving force, and your communities are going to be healthy. They're going to be open and inviting, and then people are still going to want to play the game seriously, take it seriously for anybody who wants to get sweaty. And that's an amazing experience in and of itself, forming teams, local scenes, all that kind of thing. So I think there's 100 factors that are involved. I think the one that is most inside of our control, and also one of the biggest ones, is as a collective how we preserve the culture that we already have going forward.
I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. This Keyforge community is one of the best things about it, and it's very welcoming. And but we do need to work to preserve that. Um,
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't happen passively.
yeah.
Really nothing good happens passively.
Yep.
Somebody behind it is behind it making it happen usually.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Murph says he's got a newer player last couple of weeks at his locals, and it's been awesome. Great turnout.
That's great.
Let's keep it going. Yeah, especially
That's
with Winds
great.
of Exchange coming. Now's the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we have a great locals. If you've seen Andy Forge's content, check Andy Forge out on YouTube. Andy is a local. They popped into the old local store we used to play at, and then the store told me this person who's moving here was like, "Wait, you have a Keyforge scene?" It seemed shocked, and then like a year later, somebody pops into the Atlanta Keyforge Discord server, and in there, just to distinguish myself, I put Athens because I'm about
Mm.
2 hours from the
Yeah.
metropolitan Atlanta, so I put Athens in parentheses or brackets. New person pops in. I've never seen him before. Says Andy, and this person writes brackets Athens after their name and posts. And I'm like, wait, who are you? And this person was like, well, I just saw that people put the town they're in after their after their name, so I did. I was like, but I'm in Athens. Who are you? And ever since, Andy Forge has been an absolutely awesome member of the community. Like we have we're saturated with content creators with only two for the size of our town at this point. So yeah, local scenes are just a joy. Are just a joy.
Yeah, Andy, yeah, check him out on YouTube. He's got some of the most stylish deck opening videos out there, and
Yes,
his own style, own unique style. It's
that's
yeah,
right.
that's great.
Andy, they do their own very unique style. The gloves just give that certain pizzazz. The
Yeah,
little bink bink for the stats after the analysis. It's very well considered. It's
yep.
very well considered. Yeah,
And your local community travels well too. I met quite a number at KFC. I played against
that's
Mr.
right.
Thrifty, against
Mm-hmm.
Lord of Winter, who's moved away now, but
Yep.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
March.
great.
There will be at current count. There's 5 Athenians, and we are the
Wow.
Athens Forge Masters. We're gonna have. I need to order my jersey, but we have jerseys, so we will be at Philly in our Athens Forge Master jerseys
Oh, that's
when we
great. I
next
was
meet.
gonna ask, will you be making it to any vault tours or any other type of kind of big events?
Yep. I'm locked in for Philly. Everything's purchased. I'm locked in for Philly with the Athens Forge Master, so that's exciting.
Perfect.
I will be just seeing about my work schedule and some other things look like for the other vault tours. Um, I will be trying my best to get to the other ones, so I think I will be at them. I won't commit publicly to my presence there, but
Yeah.
I will be at Philly. I plan on being on the other ones, and I wouldn't miss Worlds. I wouldn't miss Worlds for just about anything. So I will be at Worlds.
Cool.
Yeah,
Hope
yeah,
to see you at one of them. Hopefully, I won't be at Philly, but
for sure.
yeah.
If I so well, okay. Hey, Fudgeinator is in chat saying commit you coward. So I will say this, Fudge. How about this? If I place, I do and win money, I will be at whatever the next vault tour is
Ooh,
because
there you
I'm able
go.
to do Philly pretty frugal. So even if I win the 500, that'll cover most of my Philly expenses, thankfully. But
Ooh,
if I win big, then you can bet you can bet, a chunk of that money is going towards the next one.
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
Oh, chat. Yeah.
let's see. you had mentioned a little bit about Alliance, so I wanted to bring it up
Yeah.
because I do think, especially with Winds of Exchange, it might be a little bit more interesting. But I know you had even talked about it in Call of Discovery, how initially it felt to you like this kind of wasn't Keyforge, and kind of
Yeah.
where are you at now, and kind of what are your thoughts on Alliance, especially going forward? What do you think Ghost Galaxy will achieve with it?
Yeah. I think it took me a while, but I saw the core and the kind of the business, not really the business plan, but the strategy with Alliance that would help widen the appeal and provide a reason for the giant collections of unplayed decks, which so I think they were looking for a solution that was a Venn diagram for all these things.
Yeah.
And uh, okay, side note, Fudgenator is saying Zach's using Alliance to exercise his unspeakable desires. Well, they will be spoken desires in about 2 minutes once I get past this. Because even when I played Alliance at KFC, which I wasn't personally like excited about just on a Keyforge player level, but on a Keyforge content creator and somebody interested in the future of Keyforge, I couldn't pass the chance up to actually experience Alliance myself. Right. And I think what they did was they provided values to the old collections, and the Untamed pod I used in my Alliance deck at KFC was I got the deck in a bulk eBay thing. It was a
Nice.
random like 61 SAS deck with two terrible houses and an absolutely ripped Untamed house. Absolutely bonkers. Punctuated Witch of the Wilds, Dusk Witch, Regrowth, all this sort of thing. And I think it gives all the old decks reasons to be compatible, right? And it gives them the utility, right? The
Yep.
economic concept of utility. You actually have something to use it for. So, and that's the thing. I have my you can't see it on the stream here, but I have my large cabinet of filled with Keyforge decks, and it's overflowed a bit right here. And the visual I got to with Alliance is if Alliance really is successful, if it draws in extra people who want to play Alliance, which is great, that's a win. And it draws those people in and it's successful as a format, which I think they're really betting on. They're really betting on, right, with the formats we've seen them publish.
Yeah.
That gives old decks with good pods utility, which means you could sell them. And the visual is that like Ghost Galaxy, by redesigning the game formats just a little bit in an appropriate way, is literally like putting money into this cabinet because there are pods in there that maybe I never want to play or I want to play and win. Or if I'm not an Alliance player, I can just sell those. And Ghost Galaxy has taken all the cardboard that's in this little cabinet and then just made it worth more money. So I think what that'll take is them being really strategic about it. I think that'll take the community embracing it a bit. And I've seen it. I mean, like, don't embrace Alliance if you don't want to embrace Alliance, but they're going to have to convince a number of people. That's really on Ghost Galaxy, right?
Yep.
And then actually get new people in who like Alliance. So shout out to people like Jason Bargender, who
Mhm.
has absolutely made some amazing brews
Yeah.
with his collection. So I think all of those things have to fire, and then it will successfully bring utility to those old decks, to those old pods, and it could make some really interesting games. Right now, I do think it's Alliance has a bit of the TCG metagame fog about it, in that you go combo or you go control, and those are really the two options. Now, we've only had one kind of IRL meta defining event, so uh, all of this is pure conjecture before we see a couple more big events, right? So I think fine tuning the restricted list as they see what happens will help. If we continue to have a large number of sets represented, that'll be good. I would love to that like if there were more archetypes represented,
Right.
um, right? I would love Jar to be more severely restricted in some way, Eaton's Jar, because that's just entirely too good. I'm okay with Punctuated being good. I'm okay with Lateral Shift and Mimicry being good. That's fine because those are only as good as the other deck, Merkins, right? Shout out to Gorlami's
Oh
four or
yeah.
five Merkins deck, right? Um, But jar is the one where it's just about, do you get the jar down before you see the combo bit, right? So there were ideas floating around of a point-based restriction system where
Hmm.
you have X amount of points to use. I think to launch it on the scale Ghost Galaxy wants to, if they use the point system, they would have to launch an alliance builder with the points system built
Yeah.
in the master vault. So, and they have said before, at least they hinted before. I don't think this is official stated rules policy that they'll evaluate alliance year to year, right? And so I think our restricted list is probably locked in, and alliance as the style is locked in for now with that restricted list. But I could see them really innovating for 2024. And man, if they like Canadian Highlander, the points based, right? If they like Canadian Highlander, they might have Evan, their programmer guy, go into town on getting that points integration ready. And then they fine tune it. And they don't even have to launch it till 2024 because they're just going to get through our first real competitive season, right?
No,
So,
I totally agree. We've only really
yeah.
seen one tournament. It'll be really interesting to see how the vault tours go.
Yes.
And like if you think
Watch those
about,
like a hawk.
yeah, if you think about the original vault tours, the first vault tour, a Sanctum deck won. Now it was sealed and everything, but we can't just use one tournament
That's
to
right.
define the future. And so, to your point, Ghost Galaxies, their control on how they manage it, the restricted list and everything will be really critical to see. Can it draw in the people that they want it to, and will it be successful?
Yeah. Do you want to hear about the unspeakable alliance desire that Murph mentioned?
Yes.
The deck I tested. So I eventually decided I'm not going to run this because it's an AOA alliance and it was mostly pure combo. And I decided that's just wasn't the feeling. And it was, I would rather, if I'm going to play alliance, I'm going to play Winds of Exchange because I just want to embrace the new. I want to embrace the new. But what it was, so I'm uh, most viewers likely know this, but I'm rather infamous in the online spaces for my rub, my love of a combo called Rocket Tesmal,
Yes.
where algorithmically Tesmal is limited to two per deck. It has Reap, choose a house on your opponent's Archon card. They cannot choose it next turn. They're limited to two per deck because with Reaping, it's not like the old Restoring Guntis control the weak combo because they said cannot overrules must. This is three cannots, so you truly cannot actually call an active house with three Tesmal Reaps, but they're restricted to two per dis house. So sad. Except they're also in a set with Rocket Boots, which is an upgrade that says this creature gains Fight Reap if this is the first time this creature has been used this turn. Ready it. Put Rocket Boots on a Tezzy, Reap, ready it, Reap with the other Tezzy. You've locked your opponent out unless they have Mighty Lance, the uncommon Brobnar artifact with an Amber Pip that says Omni, sacrifice Mighty Lance, deal 4 damage to a creature. Unless they've got that or Fangtooth Cavern, you're good. But this is way too slow. Even if you have a bunch of helper bots to drop the Tezzies, your opponent still has a turn to respond because
Yeah.
one turn combos. Uh, once your combo gets down to activating on that one turn, that's when it's super powerful. And so the fewer cards, the fewer turns it takes to get there, the better. And so I was like, how can you get multiple reaps out of a Tesmal? Well, there's Brainstem Antenna. There ended up not being a whole lot to do over in that world. There's a couple pods that could do it, but they're exceedingly rare.
Hmm.
They're exceedingly rare, and it's also a few turns to set up because you really can't cheat that out on um,
Morris turn.
a Mars turn. Yeah,
Yeah.
and something I had explored because I purchased a Worlds Collide Legacy Tesmal deck. And the disc is pretty good. It's got Creeping Oblivion, it's got Infernus, it's got Gleeful Mayhem, it's got a number of good things in there, and it's got a single legacy Tesmo. What else is in Worlds Collide? The common Saurian artifact that should not have been common, by the way. Golden Spiral. Action, exalt a friendly creature if you do ready and use that creature. And I have multiple, like 4 Golden Spiral pods. But the issue is you have to get three spirals out. drop the Tesmal, go back to Saurian, and then use it with that. So basically, it's as slow as the old rocket boots,
Sure.
except Zach, do you know what the most unremarkable? It's not even bad enough to be remarkable. You know what the most unremarkable Logos artifact is in Worlds Collide? It's a rare.
Tell me.
Unremarkable. It's called Scientifical Hack.
Nice.
Omni, sacrifice Scientifical Hack. You may use friendly artifacts this turn as if they belong to the active house. So all you need to do. So I was practicing with pods with redundancy, 2 Scientifical Hacks, 4 or 5 golden spirals. Gets really silly with Philosophosaurus and Cincinnatus Rex, by the way.
Oh,
Sometimes I would just
nice.
win off of that in
Yeah.
practice. So you get at least 3 spirals down, you get at least 1 Scientifical Hack down, and then the combo is prepped. If you have Tezzy in hand, it's over. If they haven't destroyed it or they don't have Fangtooth out, something like that. Because then you drop the Tezzy on a disc turn, you sacrifice Scientifical Hack, and then you just boom, golden spiral locked out. Then you just call Saurian and finish out the game from there. Um, and it's Keyforge, so the silver bullets are all those hilarious things like Mighty Lance, like freaking Fangtooth Cavern. And I was playing with a list with our 1 card of artifact removal, Neutron Shark. So had to like dig for my Neutron Shark in that matchup. So that is the abomination with a legacy Tezzy that just plays to the lockout as fast as possible. Um,
These are exactly the type of abominations and different archetypes we need, though, right? I mean, we need
that's
to
right.
see the diversity in alliance and the crazy stuff happening that
Yeah,
people would
I
never expect.
I'm having trouble getting my hands on the pods. I keep the ideal pods. I keep having to go down the list of ideal
Mm,
because the owners don't respond.
yeah.
So this is a really hard pod to put together because I only want to play it if I have that redundancy of an extra scientifical hack and a single neutron shark and at least 4 um, golden spirals.
Right.
Because without that redundancy, as soon as I get hawked once, I got to play normal Keyforge, and Alliance is not normal Keyforge.
Yeah. Oh,
So
well, I love
yeah,
sharing it. And, Lord of Winter said it in the chat as well. Like, it's just fun to, theory craft and kind of
it
think
is.
about the options. And where else would you have, scientific hack being able to lock you out of the game?
Right, that being the key to make it an actually, like, an efficient just drop Kezi and go combo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I'll be running that, sorry, Fudgenator. It was gonna be a lot of it would be at least another 5 or more hours of messaging people on DOK and Discord trying to lock these things down, and then some people are like, "Yeah, I'll look it up," and then you follow up with them and they never get back.
Right.
So, what I'd rather do is dig through all my Winds of Exchange stuff because I'm getting a lot of Winds of Exchange, and I already have a crazy oppressive, unfathomable list with Bryozoark, Plunder, and then tons of like Abyssal Sight, Befuddle,
Ooh.
all that stuff. Cowp, like it's all one ofs except for double sunk cost, except it's one ofs all of the hard control stuff. So, um, So if I do Alliance, I'll probably be playing Winds of Exchange because then you can also just break it by picking 3 decks and then you have 9, at most 9 different tokens to pick from. And no, 3 tokens, 3
Three
tokens to pick
tokens.
from.
Yep.
So, and so you can also try to break it with just getting the best possible token that way too.
Yeah,
So,
well, I think you're onto something with Winds of Exchange because I've heard already Browse Arc and Ghost Form is an anomaly in there, so you
yep,
can Ghost Form your Browse Arc, which means it cannot be destroyed,
that's right.
and there's going to be some
And
crazy combos.
and by its nature, Bryozoark is going to be slower to kill. Um, assuming that you're playing it down and dealing somehow, exhausting or otherwise, with a creature that might be able to fight it off the board, and you get a few creatures out yourself. Bryozoark turns off, most of the removal that would have to deal with it. So,
Exactly.
being able to alliance around Bryozoark may be a little ridiculous.
I think it will be. Maybe that was their plan all along.
Yeah. I'm wondering if like they're just waiting to hit
In the
publish on a new restricted list that has Bryozoark on there.
right,
But
right.
I think we have to break it first. We have
Yep,
to break it first. So
definitely.
if I don't think I'll be taking Science Hack, but if I manage to be able to take Bryozoark, maybe Bryozoark Ghost Form, then yeah, there we go. There's plenty of bounce even in Winds of Exchange. So like there's still the silver bullet there, right? But
Yep.
we shall see. We shall see.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with the community? Any shout outs?
Oh goodness. Yeah, just I'm really excited to launch KPR, and I'm giving it my all. So that the two requests I'll put in are I have a post on Reddit, and you can also message me. I'm asking everybody, what do you want to see from a strategy focused Keyforge podcast? I've gotten a ton of good answers on the Keyforge subreddit already. You can, if you see me in any discords, message me there, message me here on Twitch. I would probably see it, I think. uh, but message me anywhere, you know me on Twitter, and just let me know what you want to see, because I'm taking all that in aggregate and to make some decisions. And if you want to be supporting KPR, the Patreon is up. Anybody who joins before June 8th can vote on my sign off, which was, of course, have you answered the call of discovery? And so there's some pretty cheesy ones on a Patreon poll right now, but if you have a better idea, I want to hear them and maybe I'll use it. So, yeah, excited for KPR. It is for people, and the entire point is to make it valuable for the Keyforge community, because the more creators we have making awesome stuff, from KPR to Anxious Pirate streams to Xoquetails, the more awesome stuff is out there. The more legitimate Keyforge looks to somebody browsing around going, should I get back into that? Then they see Xoquetails, then they see those other streams, and they hear KPR and they go, wow, this game is serious. And then they play. So if you can, make, and otherwise play.
Awesome. So keyforgepublicradio.com. Check it out. Get Zach your feedback. Ping him on Discord.
Yes, please.
Shout out to my little superheroes. And yeah, I would really like to thank Zach for spending the time sharing his thoughts with the community. Always a pillar of the community with Keyforge, and will continue with Keyforge Public Radio. I'm super excited.
Me too.
Good. I know you'll be
Yeah.
successful because of you. You're you.
Well, that's very flattering. Thank you, and thank you for having me on. This was an awful lot of fun, and I knew when you invited me, I knew I wanted to do it, especially since we got to chat a bunch and sat at the same table at a dinner at after KFC. So I knew I wanted to do this as soon as you gave me the honor of inviting me on. So I appreciate it.
All right, and thanks to everybody in the chat. We have episode 3 of Zocktails actually next Wednesday with Quickdraw. We talked about Sloppy
Ooh,
Labwork. We're gonna have Quickdraw on Wednesday.
excellent.
He's theory crafting his drink for the show.
Good.
Should be a really fun episode. He just won Kagi 7.0.
That's
Oh, no,
right.
no, no. Sorry. Was in the
Wait,
final.
was in
Lost
the
to
final.
Ashitaka.
That's right. Ashitaka.
Um,
Ashitaka.
yes. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Zach. All right. Pulling up outro music. Thanks everybody, and take care.